So you have an interview lined up with one of your dream companies. Maybe Amazon. Hold on though, let me fix something. Okay, now I'm decked out with my Amazon gear. Well, this blue backlight is a little disturbing. Let me turn that off. Okay, much better lighting now. Alright, so going back to your dream interview. So Amazon and all these other big companies, I'm gonna put the names here, they all follow a method called STAR method. And you are expected to answer certain questions following this method. So in this video, we are going to go over what that is, and then we are going to take one of the actual questions asked during the Amazon interview, and then we are going to go over a bad answer, and then why you should not give an answer like that, and a good answer and why it's good. So one thing, all this is actually from my actual experience when I was going through the interview process in Amazon. But none of this is secret because Amazon has all this published, like you should answer in the STAR method, some sample questions, some tips in their website. So I'm just gonna double down to help you guys and girls understand how you should tailor your answer. Also, we are hiring, so if you think what it takes to be an Amazonian, I'm gonna put the link to all the jobs at AWS in the description section. I personally love working there because all the other people are smarter than me and I love learning from them, and every day I feel like I'm getting better. Also, you can bring your dog to any Amazon office. Alright, with that being said, let's jump in. So the acronym STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So situation is the overall objective or the overall situation that you are in. Make sure you give enough details so that the interviewer can understand the complexities of the problem. So task is what are the goals that you needed to achieve. Action is the steps or the things you did to achieve the task. Make sure you give appropriate amount of detail. What specific steps did you take? What was your particular contribution? Be careful that you don't describe what the team or group did when talking about a project. They want to know what you actually did. And the result is the outcome of your actions. What happened? How did the event end? What did you accomplish? What did you learn? Etc. So sometimes folks are confused between situation and task. So when we go through the actual interview question, it will be more clear. Some general tips to keep in mind. Be specific, avoid generalizations. Use data or metrics, like when you want to buy a new car, you look up the 0 to 60 time, the gas mileage, the safety rating, etc. So similarly, when you are answering the question, make sure there is enough data or metrics to support what you are saying. This third and fourth point is specific to Amazon interviews. However, the other companies that I mentioned, they will have their version of leadership principles. So make sure you study those. So anyway, going back, for Amazon interviews, incorporate Amazon leadership principles. And then last point is try to connect the question to the leadership principle. If you know what leadership principle the interviewer is trying to find out, that makes it a little easier to answer. With that being said, let's look at an actual question. So the question is, tell me about a time when you were faced with a problem that had a number of possible solutions. What was the problem and how did you determine the course of action? And what was the outcome of that choice? Okay, so pretty common question, right? So the same question could be like, tell me one project that was difficult and that you achieved. Tell me a time when you had to choose one technology amongst multiple and how did you choose it, right? There are different variations to that. So now let's bring on Amazon leadership principles to action. So these are the 14 leadership principles. I'm not going to go through each one of them. Kind of the name kind of suggests it, but you can read up more on them from the link I'm going to give. Okay, so looking at this question, what 2 or 3 leadership principles you think the interviewer is trying to find? So when you have number of possible solutions, so you have to learn them and be curious about them. And if you have to determine the course of action, you have to dive deep on each of those solutions. Ideally, you implemented one of them, so you deliver results. So one thing about leadership principles, there will be some overlap. Like if you are delivering results, then you have to have some bias for action. However, for this purpose, we're just gonna highlight the 2 to 3 primary ones. So with that being said, let's take a look at a bad answer and why it is bad. So in response to this question, you said, I migrated our project to AWS serverless after considering Kubernetes and EC2. We coded the Lambda, tested it, implemented DevOps, then deployed into prod, and it was a huge success. So why is this a bad answer? You only talked about the action really, like what you did, like coding, testing, implementing. The situation and task, they are not described. So sometimes when you are living and breathing a project, you know all about it. So when another person asks you about the project, sometimes you might assume that that person also is up to the speed. But remember, the interviewer was not part of that project, so it's your responsibility to explain the situation and the task. Also, next thing is, you said we coded the Lambda, we tested it, implemented it, but the interviewer is looking for what actions did you perform. Also, the last thing is, you mentioned huge success. So that's like very subjective. Huge success to you can be different than huge success to the interviewer. So there is no data to support it. So that's why it's a bad answer. So what leadership principles did you cover by answering this? So you covered deliver results because you did say you deployed this into production, but you were pretty vague about how you did it, what role did you play, whether did you learn anything. So if you keep going down that path, like keep giving generalized answer, you might lose some trust. So trust is very difficult to obtain and very easy to lose, right? So to make sure you give an example from your actual project. If you try to make something up, chances are the interviewer will dive deep and find it out. Okay, so now let's take a look at a good answer. So this is the situation. We have 20 microservices running on-prem on PCF or Pivotal Cloud Foundry. PCF license needed to be renewed in 6 months. Leadership wanted the project to migrate to AWS before that to save cost and increase agility. So task, insert your role here, lead architect, developer, tech lead, I was tasked to find out suitable AWS solution within the time frame given. Action, I researched possible ways to run microservices on AWS. I narrowed it down to 3 options. Run each microservice on vanilla EC2, or run on Kubernetes using EKS, or serverless. So this immediately gives you credibility, right? So you immediately establish that you are learning and you are curious, so that's how you found all these different options. And then you said, I took one of the microservices and did POC on vanilla EC2, EKS, and Lambda API Gateway. While they all did the job, I found that with EC2, I have to take care of making it highly available by spinning multiple EC2 in multiple AZs, and there is overhead of AMI rehydration. EKS seems to be a valid solution. However, given the traffic patterns, we have to pay more than necessary. There is also an overhead of training the team on Kubernetes. This, you earn some major points, right? Because you demonstrated that you can dive deep. So not only you did the POC, but you actually found out pros and cons of each solution. You also said you did the proof of concept, so you showed bias for action. So what else? You also mentioned with Kubernetes, you have to pay more than necessary. So you are thinking about cost effectiveness. So you also touched upon the frugality LP. So we continue our answer in the next page. Lambda API Gateway is inherently highly available, scalable, and pay what I use and no server to manage at all. This simplifies our day 2 operational overhead and let us focus on delivering business value. So this proves that not only you were just trying to migrate, but you were also looking at simplifying the solution. Because you mentioned it that this simplifies our day 2 operational overhead and some of the advantages of Lambda API Gateway. So you gain some points on invent and simplify LP. Now the fun part, the result. So don't be shy about taking credit for your behavior, right? Channel your inner hero. Maybe you want to channel Han Solo. Well, he kind of died, so maybe not. Or Wonder Woman. This is what I channel. I channel Jon Snow. So let's take a look at the sample result. So based on all the POC data of performance, cost, and time to deploy, I selected serverless solution. We converted rest of the microservices to Lambda and implemented in production within 3 months. It resulted in over 90% cost savings over EC2 and Kubernetes. I shared my project learnings with other teams and showed them how to code Lambda so they can utilize it as well. I got recognized by CIO for this effort. So as you can see, the result is very data-driven. Like on the bad answer, we said huge success, but here there is no room for assumption. You are saying you achieved 90% cost savings, you went to production within 3 months, so you delivered results, so you gained that LP, so you went beyond your actual day-to-day responsibility. Not only you did your project, you shared your learnings about serverless with other teams and showed them how to code Lambda. So you gain major props on the ownership LP. This is how you utilize STAR method to answer interview questions. Alright guys and girls, that is the video. If you like the video, click the like button, smash it if you're into that kind of stuff, and subscribe. I have a bunch of other helpful videos on AWS and how to switch your career. Check them out. Alright, I'll see you guys and girls in the next video. Bye.